everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about the worst books of 2022. And I've got coffee because I need to be awake, right? I don't think there are actually too many. These are all the books I read below 2 stars, below 3 stars, sorry, and I haven't got any. I think I own only one. There's 10 of them. Fantastic. I'm not going to put them in any order, but basically some of them I DNF'd. I will tell you which ones I DNF'd. Some of them I pulled through and wished I hadn't. And some of them were like, they just didn't quite reach the 3 star. So I will just run down them. As I said, I know I don't own all but one of them. So this might be a fairly fast video, but I am going to tell you which ones I didn't like and why I didn't like them, and yeah, let's go for it. So the first book on the list, I'm literally reading from my core pile spreadsheet, but that is Foundation by Isaac Asimov. Now, this is classic sci-fi, right? And it should stay in the past. It feels like I'm being mansplained maths. That's all it is. It's maths. And it is so pretentious. And it writes as if, it reads as if Asimov thinks you are stupid. Which, okay, fair enough. There are some complicated science bits, but that's all there is. There is no substance to that book. I was reading this as a buddy read. I was the only one that bloody finished it. More fools me. But I fucking hated it. It was boring. The characters were one-dimensional. And I read it because there's a Apple TV show called Foundation with Lee Pace in it being very sexy. And I have an unhealthy obsession with Lee Pace apparently. But the book was just bad. Okay, 1 star. That's all I've got to say about it. The next one was Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I know this will upset a lot of people, but I DNF'd it. It's necromancy in space, LGBTQ+, and I think I wasn't expecting what I got. I wasn't expecting it to be sci-fi, for one. I was expecting it to be fantasy. The cover of the book definitely doesn't scream space to me. I could be completely wrong, and I know loads of people love the series. It's not for me. I've tried it more than once, and I've DNF'd it both times. It just didn't vibe with me. So there's that. Next is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This was another DNF. This was supposed to be a Red Riding Hood retelling, which immediately I was interested in. There is not enough Little Red Riding Hood retellings in my opinion. However, I quickly realised this was not a Little Red Riding Hood retelling after all. This was another Beauty and the Beast retelling, which has been done so many fucking times. I can't even count, there's too many for me to count on my fingers. I'm sorry, don't you fucking dare come at me with a Little Red Riding Hood retelling and give me Beauty and the Beast. I am fucking not interested. And I didn't like the writing style. It's typical YA, nothing surprising at all. And the love interest, who I believe will be the love interest, is a fucking asshole. And I'm not here for that. I'm just not here for it. I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. The whole thing I fucking hated. So I got DNF'd fairly far through. And then Hannah was like, why are you still reading it? And I was like, you right, I'm gonna DNF it. So out the window it went. No, it didn't. It went to a charity shop. Now on to the book that I still own. Why do I still own it? Because it's pretty. And that was Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. This has an absolutely stunning sprayed edge. This is how it is shown on my shelves. And this was okay. Okay, this is one of the ones that I don't hate. This got 2.5 stars, mostly because it didn't really deliver on what we were promised. Again, characters didn't feel truly fleshed out. There was the promise of a moon goddess, and the moon goddess was barely in it, and that was kind of disappointing. I love the myths and legends this is, drawing upon, but I wanted more from it. I wanted dragons. I wanted much more adventure than this gave me. And the love triangle was the thing that killed this. To be honest with you, the love triangle destroyed every moment of me being able to give this more than what it got, because the person that she ends up with is the wrong person, right? And the misdirects, and it was just, it was so obvious where the plot was going. And so this one got 2.5 stars. I definitely don't hate it. I just don't think it delivered on the promise that, it gave. So this was also one of the books that kind of proved that I didn't want the Fairy Loot YA book subscription anymore, because I haven't really enjoyed many of the books I've read from the YA book box. So I don't know what to tell you, but this, I still own it because it's pretty. And Fairy Loot, the one thing I can say about Fairy Loot is that they're always like knocking out of the park with these books. So there's that. The next book is Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. This was one of the Luna Book Club picks and I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it. So this is a LGBTQ plus love story plus cooking. Love that. Absolutely love that. There's a non-binary main character and there's a character. The reason I DNF'd it, really simple, really shallow. But there was a transphobic character who had my name and like she was just awful. I could not read that. I hated like hearing my name associated with all the foul stuff that was coming out of her mouth. And if that character had any other name, probably would have been fine. So definitely don't like that's like a me problem. That's not the book's fault. But that was the reason I DNF'd it. I'm sure other people loved it, so please don't let that put you off that book by any means. The same month, I also picked up If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Cale Dietrich. I think that's how you say the name. This I picked up because I heard all of the discourse about it being fanfiction, basically. A One Direction style fanfiction about Louis and Harry, and I was obsessed with One Direction. I have lyrics here. I was like, where is my tattoo? From one of their songs, like, I was a fangirl, whatever. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, I need to read this. Like, I need to see what this is all about. And I did not like the writing style, so DNF'd that one relatively quickly too. Yeah, it was a year of DNFs for me, anyway. The next book that I DNF'd was The Book of Night by Holly Black. Now, this was marketed as an adult fantasy. No, this was not an adult fantasy. This was YA fantasy. Holly Black, what are you doing? Because The Cruel Prince was an amazing trilogy. Absolutely kick-ass. Loved it. I also really enjoyed the Spiderwick Chronicles when I was younger. I plan to reread them this year to see if they hold up. But The Book of Night was not good. It was boring. It was one-dimensional. And it just felt like it was another YA fantasy. It didn't feel like an adult book. So my opinion is that Holly Black's YA, amazing. Adult, not so much, man. I just didn't like it. So I've unhauled that. It was the Fairy Loot edition and it's just gone to my lovely friend, Ali, and I hope she appreciates it. Oh, I totally fucking lied. Wait a minute. I do own another book that I gave below 2 stars. I think I gave this 2 stars, actually. Wait. Yes, I did. I'm embarrassed about this one, but hey, whatever. I gave 2 stars to Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. This is Twilight from Edward's point of view. I have reading vlogs from like a couple of years ago when I started to reread the Twilight Saga again. I got to book 2 and then I kind of couldn't read Eclipse. I may redo it. Depends how much I want to destroy my mental health this year. We'll see. But this got 2 stars. Edward needs to get out of his own ass for 2 seconds and like step away from himself. Because I was like, why is this 800 pages? Oh, it's because Edward overthinks literally every situation. Hated it, to be honest with you. The audiobook was a wild ride. Some of the things Edward came out with. And you know what? The character assassination in this was Mike, okay? Because Mike in Twilight is always like, and he's described as an eager puppy, which is also rude. But then in this, Stephanie Meyer's like, no, we're going to make Mike into this uber creepy guy. Because Edward can hear everyone's thoughts, right? So then it gets real gross real quick. Also, the absolute trying to make okay was the stalking and breaking into Bella's room. Like nothing, no, that's not acceptable behaviour, Edward. I'm not taking your reasoning for this, because that's really gross and really awful. Like you're literally stalking a 17-year-old girl. Can you please no? It was so gross, like so gross. And it was like, why are we defending that behaviour? That's not romantic. Like, it still isn't romantic, and this was published in 2022, right? Like, it's not back in 2008. Like, this wasn't okay. I still own it because I own the collection of Twilight books. So yeah, we'll see if I revive the series I started like 2 years ago, bring it back, redo it. But if you haven't seen those vlogs, please go check them out. 2 more books, and one was a DNF and one I finished. So I started Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I really enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper by that author, and I started reading Kingdom of the Wicked and I did not like it. The writing style didn't feel YA. I don't even know how to explain it. I just didn't like it, and it was really disappointing because, again, I think it was like vampires or something, and I really wanted to like it, and we met the love interest, who I'm pretty sure was the love interest, but like he's a bad boy, and maybe I'm just over that kind of fantasy, and maybe I should just read more adult fantasy. I think maybe that's what I'm learning. The last book I read in 2022 that was under 3 stars was The Shadow in the Glass by J.J.A. Harwood. This was a Dr. Faustus and Cinderella retelling, and this main character was the epitome of actually stupid, and she drove me up the fucking wall the entire time. And I kind of got the feeling that the author had not read Dr. Faustus, because otherwise some of the things that happened wouldn't have happened. And I just didn't like it at all. The character made bad decisions over and over again, and then was surprised at the consequences of her actions actually being a consequence. So that was fucking annoying, not gonna lie to you. And that's all I really have to say, because most of the books I read were 3 or 4 stars in 2022, which isn't terrible, but also not great. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna try and have a better reading year this year in 2023, although that isn't going particularly well in January, but we will do another video when I do my wrap up and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on the books I've mentioned and we'll start a conversation. If you can't really be bothered to do that, maybe put a snowflake emoji, because it's fucking cold right now in the UK. And yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks guys, bye!